So I'm holding in my hands a document you basically never get to see. It's like a hidden treasure. And I think this document is the key to understanding the Trump department, the Department of Justice, and its abuse of power. These are federal grand jury transcripts, and they are almost never released to the public, often to protect witnesses and to shield the innocent. It's important grand jury secrecy. These ones were. That's why we had them. It was an exceptional step that was ordered by a judge because of gross misconduct by Trump DOJ prosecutors. These grand jury transcripts, which is what these are from a case against the so-called Broadview Six. You might remember this. Last fall, there were hundreds of protesters that demonstrated at the Broadview ICE detention facility outside Chicago. They were part of a crowd that confronted a vehicle reportedly carting away a detainee, and the protesters were met with force by federal agents. That included then congressional candidate Kat Abou-Gazella, who was thrown hard to the ground by agents twice.
ICE came in and tried to drive the car through us. They almost ran someone over. We did not move. We stood strong, and that's when they brought out the pepper balls. That's when they brought out the tear gas. I got shot in the leg like 6 times, but that's nothing compared to what some other people experienced.
After that protest, after she was thrown to the ground by federal agents, federal prosecutors then announced that they had gotten grand jury indictments against 6 of the protesters, including then congressional candidate Abou-Gazella, who, as you just saw, was thrown to the ground. And they were indicted on felony conspiracy charges for blocking an ICE vehicle. Conspiracy charges. But then last month, the U.S. Attorney for Chicago, Andrew Boutros, abruptly dropped all the charges. And the apparent reason is this, are the papers I'm holding in my hand. Transcripts of conversations that DOJ prosecutors had with the grand jurors before they voted to charge the Broadview Six. Conversations those prosecutors tried to redact when the judge in the case asked to review them. Because what they appear to show is U.S. attorneys manipulating grand jurors in a grossly unethical fashion and abusing the system, violating rules to get charges against Trump critics. So, for instance, the first time they tried to indict the Broadview Six last October, one grand juror asked a common sense question. If the ICE agent driving the vehicle was afraid of running over people, isn't the right thing to do to stop? Assistant U.S. Attorney Sherry Mecklenburg responded, well, didn't you hear the testimony that he said he was afraid to stop because he was afraid they were going to break the windows and pull him out and he would be injured? Elsewhere, she improperly suggested her evidence was stronger than it was. This is a big no-no. You can't what's called vouch in front of a grand jury. You're not allowed to be like, trust me, right? This is like a red line. So she then tells the jurors, I would never ask you to charge somebody if I didn't think there was probable cause. That is basically textbook vouching. It's the example you learn as a prosecutor you're not supposed to do. Now, get this. Ultimately, that grand jury did not vote to charge anybody. So the following week, the prosecutors presented their case again to most of the same grand jurors. And just 9 minutes into that presentation, one of those jurors asked, are you actually presenting any new actual facts or just a different viewpoint on your side? When Mecklenburg, the assistant U.S. attorney, asked that juror if they had an open mind, they responded, quote, I heard this case like last week and I thought it was a crock of shit then, and I still think it is. The transcript shows Mecklenburg excused that juror and just kept going on with the presentation. But she doesn't get to do that. Only a judge gets to remove grand jurors. And think about this. If prosecutors can do that, if they can just eject jurors, they can just remove no votes until they get an indictment. And that is exactly what it looks like prosecutors were trying to do here. So last week, after the judge in the case, April Perry, finally reviewed the unredacted transcripts. Keep in mind, she's not in the room. There's no judge in the room, right? It's just the prosecutor and the grand jurors. So when she finally gets the transcripts and she reviews them, she said she was, quote, incredibly shocked by what she discovered, adding, I have never seen the types of prosecutorial behavior before a grand jury that I saw in those transcripts. Inflating the strength of their evidence to grand jurors, vouching, gaslighting them, removing those that don't buy into their narrative, all in the service of what sure looks like an overtly political prosecution. Trump's lawyers are forced to take these steps in hopes of sneaking some phony charges past a jury of one's peers. And you know what? A lot of grand juries haven't been buying it. Remember, they tried to indict the guy who threw a turkey sandwich at ICE in D.C. Grand jury said no. They tried to charge anti-ICE protesters in L.A. Grand jury said no. They tried to indict another protester for assaulting an agent. Grand jury said no 3 times. They tried to charge New York Attorney General Tish James with mortgage fraud. A grand jury said no. As the Lawfare blog put it, it is nearly unheard of for a grand jury to fail even once to return an indictment known as a no-true bill. I'll add, it is even rarer to hear about a no-true bill happening unless reporters get a tip. And yet, Trump's federal prosecutors keep racking them up because the everyday citizens impaneled on grand juries are increasingly presiding over nonsensical arguments and prosecutions out of the Trump DOJ. Even then, they still do manage to get charges from some grand juries, charges that eventually get dropped when they fly in the face of the facts, like their claims that the kidnapped, deported, and rescued immigrant Kilmar Griego Garcia was a violent gang member. That case dismissed last month. Or Miramar Martinez, the Chicago woman shot 5 times by ICE agents last year. Feds initially charged her with ramming an ICE vehicle, then dropped those charges after the ICE agent who was involved sent texts boasting of the shooting. So, what went on with the grand juries in those cases, right? The ones where they did get indictments. Or what about the indictment of James Comey for seashells on a beach, for taking a picture of seashells? It's virtually impossible to know. Right? We don't know what the prosecutor said to the grand jurors. No one really knows. The judge doesn't know. Just the jurors and the prosecutor, and they're sworn to secrecy. The system is by design a black box. But get this, Comey's lawyers, you know what they're trying to do right now? They are seeking the grand jury transcripts in that case. In no small part because what we now have learned from the transcripts in the Broadview 6 grand juries. Proceedings that show federal prosecutors just outright violating due process, engaging in the kind of misconduct that no DOJ in our lifetime would have tolerated before Donald Trump turned the department into a personal revenge factory.